Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are moving away from something older and starting something new. And in the place of the Shirim of the Torah of Recovery with the Light Revealed, we're going to be moving forward from within that very same space and extending it outwards into a new series of Shirim. The Shirim are going to be rooted around David HaMelech. The Shirim are going to be about David. The Shirim are going to be about the historical David HaMelech, David HaMelech through Shas, David HaMelech in the Zohar, David HaMelech in Chasidus, David HaMelech in the Gra, David HaMelech in every base medrash of all of the tzaddikim. Any book that talks about David HaMelech is fair game. Any insight that comes out from Psukim and Tehillim, that come out from the Psukim about the growth of David, the life of David, the future of David, that is going to be the content through which we are drawing down the insights of this new type of shir. The shirim are going to be about David, rooted in the light of David, and speaking to the element of David within each and every one of us. And they're going to be shorter shirim. Hopefully, they'll be underneath a half hour. And they're going to be shirim that are geared towards practical insights, psychological fragments of light that can be applied medicinally to the mind, the heart, and the body as well. And all of it is going to be drawing forth from the world of David HaMelech, from the world of David HaMelech, from the world of Mashiach ben David, from the historical David HaMelech, from the king of Israel, from the warrior of Israel, from the beautiful poet of Israel, through the Baal Tshuva, the person who teaches us what it means to go down and come up, to the person who's rooted in the highest levels of Reshad Lo Asyada, the light of David Malka Mashiach. We're going to saturate ourselves with the world of David, to draw out the light of David, to draw out the wisdom that David and his life and his experiences can provide for us. The reason that I want to start giving shirim like this is something that I've always wanted to do, but also in trying to figure out what the next series of shirim should be, what the next offering of shirim should be. I want to make sure that it's psychologically motivated. I want to make sure that it speaks directly to the heart of each and every person who chooses to listen, so that it should not be just transcendent ideas or abstractions, but rather something that can be drawn down into lived experience. It can also provide a framing to the degree that when one learns about David, when a person learns to see what David represents in Pnimius HaTorah and Niglos HaTorah throughout the spectrum of Torah, one can't help but come to identify that, wow, my experience in this world is pretty similar, All said and done, there are certainly going to be areas of David HaMelech that far exceed our lives, and there are going to be elements of David HaMelech that far descend beyond places that we would be willing to go. But when abstracted from their historical context within the specific life of David, what we're going to find is that all of us are David. All of us reflect this experience of David HaMelech. All of us live within the world of David. All of us go into the world of Tehillim. All of us go into the world of the battle with Goliath and the struggle with Shaul and the battles and the victories and the internal struggle and the ascent and the descent and the musical notes that come out of the high moments in life and the lower moments in life and the crying out of forlornness and the screaming out in joy and the spectrum of innumerable frames and moods that seem to be completely opposite to one another, but nevertheless they somehow, some way all coalesce into a universe that holds a certain residual unity at the heart of it. The world of David HaMelech, the character frames of David HaMelech, the moods of David HaMelech, the concerns of David HaMelech, the joys, the conquests of David HaMelech, each and every one of these textual experiences from whichever book that we're going to be looking at it from, across the full spectrum of the Torah as I understand it in my limited knowledge, that we're going to come to find that through all of the thicket and all of the chaos and all of the mumbling multiplicity and bumbling multiplicity at the heart of David HaMelech's experience, there is going to be a semblance of unity at the heart of it. And there's going to be a singular theme that connects all of the differentiated expressions of the self. This is the most fundamental thing that we can learn for ourselves. When we find ourselves scattered, when a person finds themselves in a million different places, in a million different directions, their life feels one way in this moment and it feels another way in the next moment. And my feeling is right here, right now, but in the next moment, I'm not sure where it's going to be. And we're not talking about rapid ascents and rapid descents, but we're talking about even a hair's breadth of movement. The ever-changing, ever-shifting framing and the substance of the self is perpetually renewing itself so that every moment of consciousness, I'm a new person. And just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu is shining his expression down into existence in a perpetually renewed way that is the self same, but nevertheless always changing, so too the self is perpetually reorienting itself and redeveloping itself and coming to terms with itself and emerging out of itself in accordance with each and every moment's grasp. The way I am a moment before and the way I am in the next moment is dissimilar to the way that I am in this moment. Now, obviously, we're going to need to develop a chain of similarity and the sequences of development and functionality in the Welt. But we can never let the secured nature and seemingly stable way in which our lives function to be the denial of the fact that it is recreating itself in each and every moment. If we forget about the perpetual renewal, which also means that every moment only lasts just long as it itself is raging, but it's not enough to get to the next moment. When we realize the fragmented nature of each and every moment and the need for the perpetual renewal of each and every moment, each and every second that we experience reality, we come to face the world which is perpetually renewing itself with vessels that are perpetually renewing themselves. And we uncover the secret of hischadshus, the hischadshus of Dovid HaMelech, the hischadshus of Dovid HaMelech of losing and winning and losing and winning and losing and winning, and every loss and every enclosure and every closing is only the opportunity to meet the edge and transcend the edge by way of the edge itself, to climb above the edge, which appeared to be the limit, and come to see experience and existence from the new vistas of being on top of that edge. And what seemed to have become the ceiling of a previous moment is now revealed to be the ground of the possible moment that is incoming. The light of Dovid HaMelech is perpetually closing and opening, closing and opening. Dovid HaMelech is like the door, the Dalid, as Rav Kook Schusio Ganalinu said, that the Os Dalid is like a delet. It's like the doors of perception that open and they close. They open in order to draw down from above, and they close in order to block off from below. But a door is a liminal space. A door opens and closes. It represents entering and exiting, connection and disconnection. And Dovid HaMelech has both of these dalids. He has the upper door and he has the lower door, because the light of Dovid HaMelech is the secret of being in both places at once, being above and below at once, inside and outside at once, to the left, to the right at once, alive and dead at once, joyous and broken at the same time, dancing and standing still, quiet and screaming, confident and scared in a holy way. All of the paradoxes, all of the many, many paradoxes of human experience that we are all so fundamentally familiar with that we can write the greatest book in the world about it. Each and every one of us has our own Megillah to write about the paradoxes, about the many paradoxes that we find in day-to-day life, about the stirot, about the seemingly inconceivable separation and multiplicity and scattering that we find ourselves in. But each and every one of us also knows the secret of the unity that rests hidden within that, and that's the Vav. That's the Vav HaChibor that rests in between the upper door and the lower door, the Dalet HaElyon and the Dalet HaTachton. The sense of expansivity and the sense of privation, both operating at once, that Vav HaChibor, that elongation of Das, that self-knowledge, that coming to know the self, coming to know who I am as I am, and being as I am in a world as it is, and serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the degree that my heart understands it, that my mind understands it, and that I grasp the revelation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving to me, to grasp my own malchus. This is the secret of what it means to be a human being. We're the generation of Dovid. The generation prior to Mashiach, and every generation before Mashiach is the generation prior to Mashiach, is all in the anticipatory stage of Dovid Malka Mashiach. There are tzaddikim who always talk about Yosef HaTzadik and the avoda of Yosef HaTzadik. And then there are those who tzaddikim who speak about Dovid HaMelech. And obviously all of the tzaddikim are always speaking about both of them. But the perspective of Yosef HaTzadik is how to maintain the singular point of connectivity at the heart of each and every moment, and to know what's what, and to know what's up, and to know what's down, and to know the difference between the two of them, and to guard that with every ounce of my being, to sacrifice myself regarding that innermost point of the tzaddik yesod olam, of that innermost point of privation and concealment and certitude and certainty and the centrality of knowledge and the hyper-essentiality of each and everything, to know that I'm grasping the point in each and every moment. That's the tzaddik of Yosef HaTzadik. But the tzaddik of Dovid Malka Mashiach, obviously it has the light of Yosef HaTzadik within him, but what Dovid HaMelech reveals is the ability for us to be ourselves in our scatteredness. Am mefuzar umefurad. That is the beginning of the Geula. The recognition that avada, I'm a scattered thing. My mind is scattered in 1,000 different places. My heart is tugged in 1,000 different places. My body feels 1,000 different things at every moment. And the light of Dovid Malka Mashiach is the connectivity between all of that separation that a person feels. To uncover the latent unity, the latent unicity that rests and reveals itself through every particular and scattered element of a person's life. This is the life of Dovid. Dovid doesn't have life of his own. Dovid doesn't have anything. Dovid is the final manifestation of everything that preceded before him. Dovid HaMelech is the vessel that congeals where the light ends, but in truth, he reveals himself to not be after the ending of the light, but rather the vessel itself is the edge of the light. That's the secret of Dovid HaMelech. That as the vessel that contains the light, that has no light of its own, in truth, it is the edge, it is the lip of the light itself turning outwards, so that that which is interior in the secret of Yosef HaTzadik is actually finding expression externally in the world of reality, in malchus itself, in the hykacity of things, in the zosness and the thisness, in the zeh of it all, in the real lived experience of being a human being, the shama beguf, with all of the ups and the downs and the in-betweens that it experiences. The secret of malchus is that it's nothing, but it's everything at once because it knows that it's nothing. It's the radical self-consciousness of something that is no longer contained within the original infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being able to come to terms with the fact that, wow, I'm still connected internally to the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the lip that juts out from the absolute infinitude of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, wherein it feels all manners of separation. But it is specifically there that the radical acknowledgement of unity and the radical declaration of unity brings us all the way back up to the place of malchus hagnuza bereishad lo asyada. The fact that, yes, Dovid HaMelech doesn't know what's going on in his life, but that's specifically the point. The point is to gather together the scattered parts of a person's experience, to own malchus as it is, to see the world in its externality, to see malchus and to uncover the hidden light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that place, not to run away from malchus. Yosef HaTzadik doesn't descend down into malchus. Malchus can't run away from itself. Malchus is what it is. We are what we are. Reality appears to be what it appears to be. Everything is as it appears to be. Olam kiminhago noheg. The world appears to operate in accordance with the habituated nature in which things have evolved to the point in which they're functioning now. Once HaKadosh Baruch Hu said it's enough, Shaddai, it's enough, the world has to stop. At that point, when Yesod stops and Yosef HaTzadik is no longer the main character, that which appears, and that's the secret of Dovid HaMelech. It has no life of its own. It has no life of its own because it's the very end, it's the very lip, it's externalization itself, it's reality itself. And it has no life of its own. It's a stillborn, it can't be born, it has nothing to allow itself to emerge into reality. It's pure possibility, it has nothing of its own, it's shape, it's the tsuras halavana, it's engraving. It's not adding anything, but it's an engraving, a deepening until something hits. And Dovid HaMelech doesn't know how to be misgala in the world. The neshama of Dovid can't come into the world. The light of Dovid can't come into the world because nothing can't take shape as anything. It can only be nothing. And the secret of how Dovid HaMelech comes into the world, in spite of the fact that he's nothing, that leis lemagam meklum, and he has nothing to emerge as, is that he has one request, and it's Chaim Sha'al Mimcha. Chaim Sha'al Mimcha. That I ask of you for life. I ask life of you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I ask for life. This is what Dovid HaMelech davens, Mashiach ben David davens from Mashiach ben Yosef, that I ask for you life. Give life to Mashiach ben Yosef. And Dovid HaMelech says, Chaim Sha'al Mimcha. I borrow life from you, Rebbeinu Shleilim. I borrow life from you. And where do I borrow life from? From Adam HaRishon. From Adam HaRishon. Because in truth, the end of all things, and in truth, the lip and the externalization of all things, and the expression of all things in the light of Malchus, is rooted in the very beginning. It's rooted in the first expression. It's rooted in Adam HaRishon himself. That soif maaseh b'machshava tchila, that the end of the end, and the end of the ending of the end, that place of Dovid Malka Mashiach, the legs that dangle into death, the legs that dangle into the worlds of separation, into the worlds of separation in thought, which is the world of Bria, separation in emotion, which is the world of Yetzirah, and separation in lived experience, which is the world of Asiya. The legs dangle into the territory of death. Dovid HaMelech forgets where he comes from. Dovid HaMelech falls, and he falls, and he falls, and he falls, and he falls. But in truth, the very light and the vitality and the capacity of David HaMelech to exist whatsoever, to experience the falls, is that it's a light that's borrowed from Rashis Harashis, from the Kadmoin of all beginnings, the light of Adam Harishon, the light of Adam Harishon, the light of Reshad Lo Asyad, the light of Keser. That the end borrows itself from the very beginningness, because the very beginningness is only for one thing. The desire for everything, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal anything at all, is to be revealed in the place of David HaMelech, is to be revealed in the nothingness of it all, is to be revealed in that feeling of, I have this scatteredness to me and I don't know how to collect it. I don't know how to gather it together. I don't know how to coalesce myself. I don't know how to emerge further. I don't know how to do something. I don't know how to feel good about something in this world. I don't know how to spark joy. I don't know how to live with moichin, or to find yishuv hadas, or to learn Torah lishma, or to live with a simcha, or to live with a sustained sense of faith that is real. I don't know how to eat properly, and I don't know how to breathe properly. I don't know how to drink properly. Each and every person finds within their lives the chesronos, the nekudos of chisaron in their lives that stand to take us away from feeling okay, Rahman al-Islam. The biggest kli that the Yetzer has is to convince us that we're not okay. And David HaMelech comes to teach us that we're okay. The light of David HaMelech is that even when a person finds themselves begeit salmaves lo irara ki ata imadi, directly in that place, when David HaMelech falls, specifically when David HaMelech falls, and he falls to places that are impossible to imagine, to the degree that all he is an ounce of falling. It hasn't fallen, it's just the act of falling itself. Sukas David hanoi feles, perpetually in a state of falling but not yet fallen. Because to come to terms with the light of David HaMelech is to first and foremost come to terms with that light of falling, to own the process of falling, to own the process of stumbling, to own the process of gaping around in the darkness of existence to try and find the path of light. And when a person comes to that place and they allow themselves to accept the external kli of David Malka Mashiach, that coming to self and realizing, okay, Ani tefillah, I'm nothing but tefillah, I'm nothing but chayim sha'al mimcha, I'm nothing but shuka, I'm nothing but ga'aguim, I'm nothing but yearning, I'm nothing but an endless desire to draw forth some semblance of life into myself from the very bottom. And in that place, what's revealed is that the only place that has light that is capable of being revealed in the place of David is the light of the beginning, the light of Reish Lo Asyada, the light of Adam Harishon. As the tzaddikim point out, that Adam is Rosh Tevos, Adam, David, and Mashiach. It starts with Adam Harishon. It starts with the beginning. It starts with the beginning of all things. It starts with clarity. It starts with the neshama in its fundamental illumination and a taste of the Yechida Shebenefesh that was contained within the Chaya Shebenefesh. A taste of Gan Eden, an experience of Gan Eden prior to being expelled from Gan Eden. That's where human consciousness begins. And that's why we're so unsettled, because we know that until we get back to that place, then we're not actually tasting the thing that we know we can taste. And so we endlessly search to get back to that place, and we momentarily taste it when we realize that we don't have to taste it in order to be in that place and that we're still there. When we stop trying is where the light of Gan Eden seeps into our minds, and we realize that, okay, even though I don't feel anything right now, I'm face to face with you, Ribono Shel Olam. Like the tefillos of David HaMelech, Tehillim, crying out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the abysmal depths, transforming every ounce of my existence into the deepest place of prayer itself. In that place, we come to draw down the light of Adam Harishon. We come to draw down the light of Gan Eden into the outside of Gan Eden, into the kli that shapes the light of Gan Eden. Adam Harishon was in Gan Eden. It was Oros Bilvad. There were no Kalim there, because a person can't understand the light of Gan Eden if they're in Gan Eden. It's only by way of the descent away from Gan Eden, away from the Moichin of Adam Harishon, that we descend into the trans-historical process of Nishmas Yisrael. And the secondary stage and the most important stage is David Malka Mashiach, David. That's the Dalit of Adam. That's the process of coming to terms with the fact that we have a doubled nature to ourselves, that we operate in a liminal space where we have open doors and closed doors, and whatever opens, closes, and whatever closes, opens, and when we're up, we're also down, and when we're down, we're also up, and existence is a mixed bag of a paradoxical process. That light of David, the process leads to the last stage, which is Mashiach ben David. It's not Mashiach ben Adam. Because Mashiach can't come from the light of Gan Eden, because in Gan Eden there's no need for the light of Mashiach. There's only a need for Mashiach when a person descends down outside of Gan Eden into the territory of David Malka Mashiach, into the Dal Va'ani Ani, that Ribono Shel Olam, have compassion on me because I'm impoverished and I'm poor. Have compassion on me because my soul is so thinned out that it has nothing left to offer you other than the thinness of the soul. It has nothing left but the endless cry of not having anything left. In that place, suddenly, Pitom, Yavo HaMelech, the king arrives, and in that place of David Malka Mashiach, David puts his crown back on. And the crown of David is the fact that malchus goes all the way, all the way, all the way back up into the secret of Reshad Lois Yada, the sense of tainug nifla of emuna, and realizing that im ani kan hakol kan. Im ani kan hakol kan, my experiences, my nikud of David HaMelech. Every yid is the life of David. Every yid is the life of David. Tehillim is the prototype of our lives. Every person has to come to terms with the light of David HaMelech within themselves, and to find within that place of emptiness the deepest light of fullness, to come to terms with being a vessel for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of living with the only midah that David HaMelech has, which is emunah. The emunah kolzos. The emunah kolzos. Emunah, which is tefillah which emerges out of the existential crisis of the soul at every moment, where I know that if I don't scream out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the pits and the abysmal depths, then I'm not going to find the light that I need to move on in the next moment. Chaim sha'al mimcha. David HaMelech needed renewed life each and every moment. He needed to stand up each and every moment. He needed to get up each and every moment until he came to realize that I'm dancing. I'm dancing. And Michal says to him, you're dancing like one of the empty ones. You're going to empty yourself out. David HaMelech says, no, you don't get it. I have nothing. I have nothing. There's nothing to empty me out. I'm empty already. I'm nothing but revelation. It's the revelation of revelation. That's the light of David HaMelech, the self-consciousness of a yid at the end of history, where we realize that, we are the process. We are Nishmas Yisrael. We are the light of David HaMelech. We are the Nefesh of Yisrael, as the Zohar HaKadosh says, which is Nefesh de David. We are the Sefer of Tehillim. We are the Osios of Tehillim. Every pasuk, every neshama finds itself in a pasuk in Tehillim, in an os in Tehillim. Tehillim is mamtik all dinim because it's us crying out. It's va'ani tefillah. I am prayer. I'm not praying. I'm not someone who wants to pray. I'm endlessly trying to pray, but my essence is prayer. My essence is that dalus, that impoverishment of the self, which is crying out constantly and also perpetually coming to find the royalty of the self in the very same moment. The moment that I'm saved is the moment that I come to find that, wow, I've been king all along and I didn't need to be saved from anything because all there is you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a secret of only learning how to be a melech if we understand that we are still melech even when we fall away from being a melech. Because even when we fall away from being a melech, we're still melech. We're melech over ourselves. We're melech over the capacity to live in the light of derech emuna b'charti. The light of David HaMelech is derech emuna b'charti. Derech emuna b'charti. Choosing the path of faith. Choosing the path of faith. Perpetually coming from the emptiness into the wholeness immediately and not suffering in the emptiness. The emptiness is just a kli. The emptiness is just that sense of, you're right, I'm absolutely nothing. I have nothing. I have nothing. Hey. And this is the joy of David. This is where the joyous dance and the light of David comes from. The richness, the wealth of David HaMelech. The fundamental grasp of David HaMelech. The power of David. The confidence of David. The profound confidence of David. David's ability to show up, David's ability to know every ounce of what everything means, David's ability to face reality face to face. It comes from the other side of David. It comes from the lower Daled. The lower Daled gives us access to the higher Daled, which is the element of being totally in control, of knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has appointed us as the shluchim for him, and we have to take confidence in that. And v'yigva libo b'darchei Hashem, and that a person has to have this radical confidence and a gaiva de kedusha, the light of David HaMelech, who could say things like, I'm David. The language of David HaMelech, the language of the tzaddikim who follow the path of David HaMelech, the language of Nachal Nebe'er Chachma, Rabbeinu Nachman ben Fega, Schusio Ganalinu, Ana mizavad de Zara de David, says Rabbi Nachman, like the Baal Shem Tov, it's from the Zera of David, it's the light of David, and that's why it's davening. It's reaching out from a place of impoverishment and coming from that impoverishment itself to the wealth beyond wealth, a wealth beyond materiality, a wealth beyond wealth, a wealth that needs absolutely nothing to be wealthy, to be king over nothing at all. Because I come to recognize that David HaMelech understood one fundamental thing, that I can never get to the top, because only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is at the top. Only Yosef HaTzadik, Yeravim ben Nevat is asking, the element of Yosef, the element of Mashiach ben Yosef is asking, Mi Barosh. Hashem says to Mashiach ben Yosef, he says, come, be matayil with me and Mashiach ben David in Gan Eden. Be matayil, enter into that place of purposelessness, of not needing an innermost point, of being the Asara Batlanim that enable the Megillah to be read, of the light of Yehuda, the light of David Malka Mashiach, the light of concealment for the sake of revelation, the light of Bittul, the light of Shiflus, the light of Tefillah, the light of Tehillim, the light of screaming out with faith, the light of Ein Yeyush Boilam Klal. Come walk with us, says Hashem. And Yeravim ben Nevat says, Mi Barosh, who's going to be at the head? And he's nidche because Ben Yishai Barosh, it's Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben David is always at the head. Why? Because there is no head, there is no upside, or there is no downside for David HaMelech. It's the same. It's a palindrome. David Vav Dalid, Dalid Vav Dalid. Either way you look at it, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, it's the same. It's the Shivayon Hagamor, Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, Bein Ba'ayil, Bein Benachak. Above, below at once, David Malka Mashicha, Aniva Ayin Bevasachas, Malchus Agnuza Beradla. The potential that rests at the heart of every experience that we have, wherever we find ourselves in our personal book of Tehillim, whether we're in traffic, whether we're bothered, whether we're afraid, whether we're anxious, every moment of existence, when seen through the light of David Malka Mashicha, teaches me one thing, that I can see the wealth of godliness in this moment, or I can see the impoverishment of self in this moment. I can see the endlessness of all endlessness, or I can see the limitation of all limitation. From the life of David, we're going to learn the fundamental significance and power that we have at our grasp in each and every moment to be boicher b'chaim, to live with chaim sha'al mimcha, to demand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us life, to give us more life, chai ha'chaim. The highest lights in the world, the lights of Mashiach Tzidkenu, the lights of the Yechidah Shebenefesh, the lights of being okay, the lights of Yishav Hadas, the lights of Simcha, the lights of confidence, the lights of belief in oneself, the lights of belief in others, belief in Nishmas Yisrael, belief in Knesset Yisrael, the fundamental belief that every individual Jew that a person encounters in this world is burning with the same light of David HaMelech that each and every tzaddik is burning with, that everybody is David, that the generation is a generation of David Malka Mashiach. And like David HaMelech, to see the goodness at the heart of each and every year, and to be mavakesh after the nekudos tovos, and to always be searching for the makom hamikdash, and not allowing his eyes to rest until he found that makom for the kodesh hakadashim, and preparing, and drawing the light of conclusion into preparation. The light of David HaMelech, the light of dancing, the light of never being empty because it's already empty. It has nothing. It's a vessel for the infinite nothingness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation. We have to choose perpetually, derech emunah b'charti. And the light of David is that even if you haven't been able to choose it in this moment, you can choose it in the next moment. Adarabba, by not choosing it in the previous moment and by tasting and being licked by the fire of not choosing the goodness of the next moment, now you have more urgency and more ferocity to draw into your choosing of the good moment. Hamtakas hadinim b'sharosham, that's the light of David HaMelech. The emunah kolzos, the light of emunah, the light of joy, the light of confidence in facing things that deny oneself of any sense of confidence. The paradox of emunah, the paradox of keser. That's what we're going to be entering into. David HaMelech lived with this awareness. David HaMelech was patient. David HaMelech was silent. David HaMelech faced what he faced. When he fell, he came the next day and he announced, I have fallen to the deepest places, learned from my failures. When he won, he came face to face with everybody and he said, this is the kavod for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Above and below, there was nothing that was outside the realm of revealing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's unity for David HaMelech. Bikesh David la'aloi el roish. David HaMelech wanted to go higher than he could have gone. Just as David HaMelech wanted to go lower than he could have gone. David HaMelech is malchus Yisrael. It's nishmas Yisrael b'sharasho. It's a secret of the Baal Shem Tov. It's a secret of the Gra. It's a secret of all of the Talmidim. All of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, all of the Talmidim of the Gra, the Yichud of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, which is the light of Yosef within David, which is the Yud of David. And that's what we're going to try and learn. And we're going to do it usually on Thursdays. And then we're going to do it usually to identify a particular teaching sourced and to read the teaching together and to see what it means and to try and live with that perspective. And to try and see the profoundly relevant and perpetually miraculous insights that are hidden in the books of our tzaddikim about David HaMelech. What the tzaddikim say about David HaMelech is prophecy for each and every person who has their inner ears open. Because it's impossible to say that this was written for anybody else other than the person reading them. In our generation, when we're at the edge of David, waiting for David to enter in to the mem of Mashiach, to be mashlim, the aleph, daled, mem, if we forget about the light of Gan Eden and the aleph, it sometimes just feels like dam. It sometimes feels just like the Dalet and the Mem. And we have to draw the Aleph into every moment, the Eid Yala El Haaretz, to draw the Aleph of Adam Arishon and Gan Eden into every ounce of the Dalet, the secret of Abi Yasad Brata, the light of Chachma within Malchus itself, perpetually holding the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our minds, wherever we find ourselves in the realm of Malchus, to be mamtik every ounce of our experience. Yichudim Kamaischa means when we're drinking a cup of water to draw the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu into our minds. When we're walking, when my right leg is going in front of my left leg, what am I thinking about? What does this seemingly insignificant gesture mean in terms of my spiritual awareness? And no matter how imagined it might feel, and no matter how silly it might feel, and no matter how theatrical it might feel, When a person starts thinking, okay, my right leg represents my chesed and my left leg represents my gevura, it represents constriction, it represents expansion. And as a human being, I'm perpetually walking, and it's a process of expansion and contraction, expansion and contraction. And to understand the emphasis, to place the right foot before the left foot, to understand the halachos of the right and the left, a person comes to big yichudim in every ounce of their experience. There's no human experience that cannot be filled with tomes and tomes and tomes of chedushay Torah that give shape to that yichud and finding a Kadosh Baruch Hu in that place, in every tnua. That's the light of Dovid HaMelech. And he writes it down. Every ounce of crying out was written down. He took it seriously. He took himself seriously. But he also knew that he was the Barchana de Malka. He was the jester of the king. He knew that he had nothing because he was a revelation of everything. He stopped being afraid of revealing himself because he knew that I'm revealing nothing but a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The confidence of the tzaddikim to do what they need to do. Lokeach bezroa. Like we keep seeing from the Kamarna Rebbe, that when he took the zroa from the Chozeh Lublin, with strength, because v'yigva libo b'darchei Hashem, the tzaddik has to have confidence. The tzaddik has to have the ability to stand, that even though the legs buckle and stand, and the legs buckle and stand, nevertheless, the tzaddik's job is to transform that into dancing, into the light of the legless beggar. Dovid HaMelech understood this secret of ahava she'ena tluya b'davar. He came to a place of confidence. How? Because he realized that no matter where he fell, he was still right there. Wherever he found himself, he was right there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was right there with him. Above, below, he was there with him. In Gehenna and Gan Eden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with him. And when Dovid HaMelech came to that awareness that he was loved equally by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no matter what situation he was going through, no matter where he was at, no matter what he felt, no matter what he felt about his relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no matter where he was holding, he was always equally connected to the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it was from that place that he grew the courage to change. Because if a person wants to try and change from a place of feeling that if I don't change, I'm not with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then where in the world is a person going to get the energy necessary, the confidence necessary to take the first step of change? There's no element of change that is available without the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So once I understand that I'm never apart from the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then Mamela, there's no situation that I can't get myself out of there because the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there. The other opinion is that the other way of looking at something, it's a mistaken way of looking at things, but it's a necessary mistake in the process of Aleph, Daled, Mem, of going from the process of Dovid and learning the Torah of Dovid properly, which is being revealed in our generation through our tzaddikim, the Barchani de Malka, the schoik of it all, the or ein sof, the gematria of schoik, to be mamshik the schoik ha'elyon, to dance like Dovid HaMelech. When Dovid HaMelech says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're here with me also, when Dovid HaMelech realized that, he realized, wait a second, now I can go anywhere I want because you're with me here also. You're everywhere, Hashem, you're everywhere. Ki ani adati, I can't explain to anybody else how big Hashem is because he's revealed wherever I find myself. Wherever I go, there you are, Hashem. Wherever I go, there you are. You're right there. There's no place without you. There's no thing without you. There's no place that I don't encounter you. There's no place that I don't see the shapes of the osios. Shavisi Hashem l'negdi tamid. This is the recognition that Dovid HaMelech comes to. And he realizes the confidence that comes with realizing that, wait a second, the rest of the Welt is operating under the assumption that there has to be something that the relationship is dependent on. And I come to the secret of independent love, the love that David had for Yehonasan, that love that is not dependent on anything. And Dovid HaMelech says, with this, I understand, Hashem, I'm with you everywhere. And so everything I do that's good, great, it was a good performance. And every place that I fall, it's my job to uncover a new kapitel Tehillim, to uncover the light of godliness that was not revealed in Metzios until I found myself in that situation, with all of the prerequisite effort to maintain the light of Yosef Tzaddik at every ounce. The light of David is not a denial of the light of Yosef Tzaddik. Chalila v'chas, there's a machlokas between Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef, between Chachma and Bina. But that's only until the point that we can learn to be miyachid Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef together and to reveal the light of Mashiach ben Yosef within Mashiach ben David, that light of hyper significance within the recognition that everything is significant and therefore nothing is significant, but to continue to maintain that sense of hyper significance, but to no longer take it as seriously as I did, to live with a schoik, to live with Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm with you wherever I am, wherever you bring me, I'm there. Wherever you bring me, you're there, and wherever I am, you're there. Mamela, it's kamayim apanim el apanim. When I come to awareness, l'cha amar libi b'kshu panayas panecha Hashem avakesh, I'm sent here to reveal you. And the only way I can reveal you is through me. So you sent me here to reveal you. So right here you are. Here you are, Kadosh Baruch Hu, emani kan hakol kan. And this is the light of Dovid HaMelech, and he understood this fundamentally. On Kufya Tessim Psachim, when it talks about the Suda, when it talks about the Suda of La'asilavo for the Zara of Yitzchak HaTzadik, because it's going to be the Gevura that's going to bring about the Geula, because it's going to be the Hamtakas at Simsum B'derech at Simsum itself. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a feast. It's going to be the Suda of Lav Yasan. It's going to be the place of Hiskalus Pnimis HaTorah. It's going to be Ayin B'ayin Yir B'shuv Hashem Tzion. It's going to be the recognition that I've always been with you. Zeh Hashem Kivinu Lo, Zeh Daika, wow, where I was is exactly what I thought it was, and that was you, and I was always with you. And I knew it then, and I know it even more now. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to the tzaddikim, and he's going to say, someone has to bench, someone has to be mashlim in the suda, someone has to finish this shlav to take us to the next shlav. Who's going to take responsibility over the win? Who's going to take the joy? Who's going to take the kavod for getting us to this place of suda Lav Yasan? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to Avram Avinu, and he's going to say, please bench. And Avram is going to say, I can't bench, I had Yishmael. And he's going to come to Yitzchak and say, Yitzchak bench. And Yitzchak is going to say, I can't bench, I had Esav. And he's going to come to Yaakov, and Yaakov's going to say, I can't bench. I married two sisters in my life. And he's going to come to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's going to say, Moshe Rabbeinu bench. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say, I can't. I never entered into Eretz Yisrael. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to Yeshua, and Yeshua is going to say, I can't bench. I didn't have a son. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to Dovid Malka Mashiach, and Dovid HaMelech is not even going to say why he's worthy of benching. He says, Ani yivarech v'li na'eh levarech. I'm going to bench, and I'm worthy of benching. And then he says, Kois Yeshuas Esa b'shem Hashem Ekra. And with that, the Suda is Muslim. Dovid HaMelech understood that if it's up to me, if you're asking me to bench, I'm benching. Avad, I'm worthy of benching. I'm you. I'm a revelation of you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm a shliach of you in this world. And so if it comes into my hand to bench, that's my Kos Yeshuos. How do I know Kos Yeshuos Esa? Kos is Gematria Elikim. It's the Gvuros. It's from that place that I came to serve you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And because I understand that secret of bringing the lower Dalit to the upper Dalit, we have the ability to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every single place. Each neshama has that ability to say, I'm going to bench and I'm worthy to bench. Why? Because chidush kamoni lo haya me'olam. And nishmasi pelagadol, like Rabbi Nachman taught us. Rabbi Nachman was able to speak about himself, he said, because he was from the zera of Dovid HaMelech. And for now, we'll end with the last teaching in the Kutamaran, Tinyana, almost as if to say, this is what Rabbeinu wants us to be mamshech, to learn how to be like Dovid HaMelech. And this will be the introduction, which is Riboy Oros. And then in the future, we're going to not Riboy Oros, Chas v'Shalom, but it's more abstract and more expansive and more excited than I hope the typical shirim in this context to be, which will be more rooted in text. All of what we're saying is rooted in text, Bezras Hashem, but it'll be more pinpointed, more of a light of Yosef within David. But for now, we'll end with the last teaching, Kuf Chaf Hey, in Likutei Moharan. Now, Kuf Chaf Hey, I'm just thinking now, it's very interesting because for the Rashash in Hakdamas Rechavas Hanar, so we see that there's 5 nekudos that come out in the Shvira, which is the process of Malchei Edom, which is where Dovid HaMelech's neshama comes from that place of stone. He comes from that Misas HaMalachim. And there's 5 nekudos that come out, and each of those nekudos have 5 within themselves. So it's 5 times, it's each and every nekuda, there's 5 nekudos, and each and every nekuda has 5 nekudos within it, and each and every nekuda has 5 nekudos within it. So each one is 5 times 5, which is 25, and times 5, and it's 125. Kuf Chafei is the shlemus of malchus in Metzias. Kuf Chafei is what the Rashash and the Torah Chacham and the Rebbe describes as the shlemus of malchus. It's a full expression of somethingness, which is why I think also it's the gematria of daika, because it's that counterintuitive sense that it's specifically at the bottom of malchus to malchus, when we have the shlemus of the kuf chafhei halakim of something. So we see that it's the finalization of something being revealed. And so we see over here that in kuf chafhei, it's the last Torah in Likutei Moharan. Now there's 412 teachings in the first chelik and the second chelik together in the secret of the bias, which is Rosh Tevos, Bavli, Yerushalmi, and Tosefta, the secret of Torah Sheba'al Peh, the secret of Hariul Hashem Kol Aretz, of Halacha, that light of Dovid HaMelech, who says that my hands are dirty with trying to bring a husband and a wife back together, engaged in Halacha Kamoisei B'chol Makom. And Dovid HaMelech brings it down to Malchus. And so in this place, Dovid HaMelech is going to be the shleimus of Likutei Moharan. With regards to saying psalms, with regards to saying the kapitlach of Dovid HaMelech, he said to him as follows: that the main way of saying Tehillim is to say the psukim of Tehillim about oneself, to find oneself within each and every kapitel in Tehillim. And the person asked Rabbi Nachman, and he says, how? And Rabbi Nachman explained as follows, just a little bit. He says, because all of the wars that Dovid HaMelech asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu for, that he asked Hashem to save him from all of these battles, Each and every person has to explain all of these battles within themselves in terms of the battle of the drives and the elements of the drives. And so too with each and every other capital, as is explained in Siman Kuf Aleph. And the person asked Rabbi Nachman as well, how should I find my ability to explain about myself? The psukim when Dovid HaMelech praises himself, is mishabeach es atzmo. When he says, Shama nafshi ki chassid ani, save me because I'm a chassid, ukiyotze bezeh, how am I supposed to find myself in there? Hey, Shavlon, Rabbi Nachman repeated again, Gam zet tzrichim lefarish al atzmo. A person has to say this upon themselves as well, both parts, the two dalids. Because a person has to judge themselves favorably. And a person has to find the positive points within themselves. And a person has to perpetually find that innermost point of goodness in which point that they are actually that chassid, and so on and so forth. And Rabbi Nachman answered him. And he says, when it comes to Yehoshaphat, the pasuk says, "V'yivga livo b'darchei Hashem," that his heart was strengthened in avodas Hashem, that he had gaiva de kedusha. Sheb'darchei Hashem va'avodas yisparach hegvia libo b'tzat, that a person has to believe in themselves a little bit. It has to be born out of that shiftless of David. Oid amar le Rabbeinu Zal. Rabbi Nachman answered him as well. Haloi b'boiker anu oimrim b'tchila ma anu ma chayenu v'chulei. In the morning, the first thing we say are, what are we and what is our life? Anu maktinin atzmenu ma'oid. We make ourselves very, very small. V'achar kach anu oimrim, and afterwards we say, aval anachnu amcha b'nei brisecha, but we, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are b'nei Yisrael. After we make ourselves small with the lower dalid, we have to bring ourselves up even higher with the upper dalid. We make ourselves strong and we bring ourselves up and we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's us that can bring you into the world. That we're the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, etc. This is what we have to do. And look, if you want to understand this, Ayin Mizeh b'soif Sefer Harishon b'simin Reish Pei Beis al pasuk Azamar le'elikim b'oidi. And the end of Rabbi Nachman's Likutei Moharan Chelik Beis, which is the light of David. Chelik Aleph is the light of Adam Harishon, and Chelik Beis is the light of David and Mashiach. And the chibur between the two of them is going to be the yichud of Adam in its shlemus. Kuli hai v'ulai. I don't know if that's true, but we see that he ends with Reish Pei Beis. He ends with ultimately having to find the Nekuda Tov in ourselves. That's the light of David Malka Mashiach. So Be'ezras Hashem, with the light of all of the tzaddikim, we're going to be mamshech into the world of David to find strength in places of weakness, to find weakness in places where we thought we were strong, and to draw together the life of David from the psukim, from the Batei Midrashim that all populate the world of Dovid HaMelech, and we're going to come to find the secret of Gan Eden in our lives and to transform whatever level of smallness that we feel into a greatness that is capable of bringing Mashiach ben David Be'ezras Hashem.